Thank you, Valdis. Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, the introduction was, I had the feeling that we will solve this AI issue for everyone.
Right now.
Yeah, then.
Good luck.
Yeah, but actually it's quite complicated, and I cannot promise, and I don't think that any of panelists can promise that we will solve anything. I wanted to start with a short story. I was listening yesterday to the radio broadcast about how AI can help parents of young kids to manage their everyday life. Shout out to all the parents, and you know that it's quite challenging. And of course, the host of the show asked people to express their attitude, and they sent emails, and she read those emails, and basically there are two sides of the story, right? On the one side, there are people who really support all the development of the technology, and they are really happy and curious about it. And on the other side, there is this supporters of the horror movies that robots will kill the humanity, and that's it, and guys, what are you doing? And when they hear something like your job will be replaced by AI, then they go totally crazy, right? But I consider myself to be one of this first group, and but still I sometimes lack a bit of feeling and understanding where are we really with this AI at the moment, and I would say that this is one aim of the panel, to find out where we are, what the AI can and can't do yet, and also what's the future like. So now I would like to give a word to the panelists. I have an amazing crowd here, and please. Could you introduce yourself? Victor, yeah. Can you start then?
I'm Victor Skupcis. I'm based in Prague because there is a Google office in Prague. Still, we don't have Google office here, unfortunately. Yeah, we were working on it. Yeah, but I'm Latvian, and my thinking about AI is very simple. As you mentioned, it will take all the jobs away. It's probably similar to what was said about steam engines. Yeah, the steam engines should take all our jobs away. Well, it didn't. And then, you know, the story goes on. So yeah, I'm responsible for data analytics, and this is where AI now plays very substantial role. It was there already for a long time. We probably just wider audience didn't notice it. It's not something we invented 5 years ago. The story goes like 20 years ago or even more. So it was always there. Just this year, it has a little bit more hype with it, so, and everyone now start to discuss. So let's discuss it, and let's find out.
Thank you, Lucas.
So I'm Lukas Ilves. I'm the Estonian Gatis. So I do the same thing in Estonia that Gatis does in Latvia. I hope that AI takes away all the jobs. You know, just talk about practical problems in Estonia, which I think are similar in many countries across the world. The average age of our frontline civil servants in our police and border guard agency, not the young guys and gals on patrol, but in the offices, you know, serving customer needs, or in the sort of service points for various social agencies, is in the mid-50s. And we're going off a demographic cliff. We're going off a demographic cliff for our teachers. We're going off a demographic cliff for our doctors and our nurses. You know, we have tens of thousands of positions, skilled positions, that we will not be able to fill within 10 years' time. I hope that AI can replace and change the nature of a lot of that work. Mark Andreessen made the broad conceptual point that what AI is, it's human grade today. It's human grade cognition available at a fraction of the marginal cost on demand, from a tap, in the way that electricity made human grade physical strength available at a tiny marginal cost on demand from a tap. And so let's start off with the optimistic case. We need and will benefit massively from having much more human cognition in many, many domains. And then the flip side is the terror stories. And the question I would ask pragmatically, and that we have to work through, and we shouldn't belittle the question, is, let's say these risks are real. what can and should we actually do about them? Any kind of ban on technological development will fail. So how do we actually prepare for those risks? And those risks are on a whole stack of different levels of concern, starting from monopoly risks. Google and Microsoft make a global duopoly, and what's the nature of this service? Is it a kind of one that naturally lends itself to monopolization, or are there ways we ensure that it's competitive so that your monopoly rents aren't too big? To the kind of existential, the AI will kill us all, and then some scenarios in between there. So I think we do have to work through those scenarios, but we should ask ourselves very concretely, what are the specific steps we can do that would actually help us against some of these scenarios? And how realistic are they, in terms of probability, cost, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Gatis, you are Lucas in Latvia,
in
right?
Latvia, yes. I'm Lucas in Latvia, and we are meeting regularly, so we are very...
one of us should tell the audience what it is that we actually do.
You mean you know? Gatis, and in our responsibility in the ministry is also to take care, of course, not so much of the technological part of AI, but how this may impact society. What are the borders we have to put, or how we can enable the society, the humans, regarding the reskilling, upskilling, and technological development, and also regulation also as well. But I think that regarding development of AI, we can see it on different scales. The one discussion is going on about on this who will win or how to compete, like regionally, China and the USA and Europe, and there I think that we are happy to be here in Europe, that we are developing and paying attention to this value-based development of AI, and I think these are the things we have to keep pushing and put the emphasis on. So if we take into account the possibilities and the magnitude of AI potential, it's important to lay the foundations the right way. On the other hand, I think this development of recent years of the large language models has made AI accessible to personal level. Until this was more like with products and services, and corporations used it and in their products. But now we can, each of us can use it to increase our performance. And I think this is where we have to look. And of course, it could change, or it could maybe even discontinue some of the jobs. But more, I think the impact would be not on specific jobs, but maybe on tasks that we are accomplishing, and maybe our jobs will just be more meaningful through this transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, that we can really get hands-on and see how this technology is working. It's, that's also why I think this hype is on. So, Nick, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Johnson. I'm the head of the UK Telecoms Innovation Network, which is a government-funded organisation on a mission to connect up the UK innovation sector, that's to say academic universities, small businesses, large businesses, marketing organisations, and connect them up with the global context. So there's a domestic UK selfish kind of self-interest element to our work, but there's also an international element to it, which is one of the reasons I'm here. Specifically in the context of UK TIN, we have two interests in AI. One is that we have a set of expert working groups looking to create the roadmap, if you like, for telecoms innovation over the next 5 to 10 years. And of course, AI forms a central part of that roadmap. And so, how does that how does that change the role of software within a network? So how, is AI affecting the skills that are required to actually build and operate a telecoms network? But also, we have a role, I think everybody else in this room has a role in dealing with the skills gap. And, I think every organization in every technology, in every sector is suffering from this issue. So how do we, in the narrow context of telecoms innovation in the UK, how do we help shift the emphasis back towards telecoms as a desirable career path and get people, and as was observed earlier, the workforce in telecoms in the UK is aging as fast, if not faster, than everywhere else. And average age of a telecoms engineer is also mid-50s and retiring as soon as they possibly can. So we've got a big challenge on there, and I think it's. I think that's probably enough. I think that definitely, in terms of is AI going to lead to catastrophe or is it a panacea? It's somewhere in between. I think it's kind of a fairly boring answer, but there's a lot to be concerned about. I think one. There's a World Economic Forum report from earlier, actually just a month ago, which essentially said the same thing. It said you analyze the job market and what's the impact on AI, and the answer is it depends. And there are some jobs which may be automated and sort of replaced, and there are some jobs which may be augmented by the introduction of AI. And as was said earlier as well, this is happening ever since the very first industrial revolution. People have been concerned about the introduction of new technology. And what has actually happened is that the skills required have changed. Some people have got left behind, and that needs to be understood and dealt with. I think the subject of the previous panel, was very relevant to that. How do you deal from exclude people? There's an intrinsic set of exclusions, by virtue of physical capacity or mental capacity, but there's also a contingent set of inclusions by virtue of the fact that the technology is moving faster than people can keep up, and we have to treat them with equal emphasis. I think they're both very serious. So they lead to a kind of both end up in social exclusion, which we need to deal with. But it's coming. There's no doubt that AI is here, and I think you mentioned that it is the advent of the large language models that has made the difference. AI itself has been around for a long time, but it's the large language models, these things which kind of pass the Turing test. Am I talking to a computer or to a human being? It's now sometimes difficult to tell, and that's new. Actually, that is new. So, how do we fix that?
Okay.
How do we deal with it? Rather, it doesn't need fixing. It just needs comprehending within our daily lives.
Okay, I would like to use the opportunity that there are representatives of the government side here, and there are a lot of countries with digital strategies, even with AI strategies. Gatis, I would like to ask you, and afterwards also the same question to Lucas. What is the role of AI in this digital strategy in Latvia?
Actually, when we started to develop our digital strategy current, we didn't make a specific section on AI. That was among the discussions. We thought that AI would be kind of as a substance in every sector we were dealing in our strategy. We had a digital AI strategy prepared some years ago, but now what we see, it's already outdated, really. So we are planning for the next year to do something in this realm. So our existing digital strategy, I think it includes the concept that we had at the moment. At the moment, we didn't have the LLMs, so the rise of the LLMs, so it's really not in the strategy, but it's in the practice currently being kind of used and applied. So we're looking forward for the update of the strategy. Of course, we need a strategical view of this, because strategy is needed that we not only react, but we can proactively kind of work towards the different consequences and also enablers. We hear from our research kind of partners that there is a need for more capacity on performance computing. There is, we hear from social sectors that there is a need to plan for upskilling, reskilling, and things like that. So we are looking forward this and to update the strategy in next years.
Lucas,
Yeah, I
the
mean, I think we're in a similar
digital
boat.
Estonia.
Similarly, we put out an AI strategy in 2018, 19, and now we're updating it. And really, I think we're going to have to be in very quick iterative cycles. And let's talk about two elements. One is use of AI in government. Government is a large organization, and the same challenges that big enterprises across the world have on adapting it, the same opportunities. We've, over the last 3 or 4 years, deployed about 120 use cases of machine learning, or AI if you want to call it, in a lot of different point solutions. Everything from detecting which roads need to be cleared by plow first and routing the priority of the snow plows, to benefit detection of fraud, conversational things like sign language interpretation for TV and so on. But now the question is, what's the layer we build on that? What's the more generalized, more generative layer we can build on top of that? And I think if you ask me kind of what's the potential vision, which we're now working on the strategy, it's that we today are in the position where we can create a digital twin of every physical and legal person in Estonia and ask, how can we mobilize the resources of government and the public sector in order to help them achieve their outcomes? So let's look at your health records, your educational records, your, where you live, et cetera, and say, and have an algorithm thinking along with you. How can we make Gatis's life healthier? How can we help Gatis be better educated? And then coming to you and recommending things. And we do proactive services anyways, but making that proactivity based on sort of what the algorithm's recommending, how it's thinking about your needs, and then at the same time trying to optimize that for society as a whole. So I think that's all cool stuff government can do. I think for us, and we'll do that. And I'm sure, whether we're number 1 or number 5 in the world in doing that, I don't know. I'm sure we'll be fairly fast moving. Small countries can do that. I think the trickier thing is society as a whole. And the challenge for AI is the same as for digitization more broadly, which is large organizations kind of have the surplus that they can figure out these transformation plans. Small organizations, small companies don't. If we look at how AI, as a continuation of digitization, is poised to disrupt a lot of areas, I don't see, I see that a lot of small companies today might be going out of business in the next 5 or 10 years. And it's not just going to be the obvious ones, because part of what's now changed with LLMs, the skills profile of who's affected has changed. Let's take something that's very critical to our export and our economic growth, programming, and sort of your garden variety systems integrator tech company. A lot of what their profit margins come from, a lot of the skills they provide can now be automated. They may be, having their economic model disrupted. And this isn't going to be, the sectors we're used to being in decline. These are going to be sectors that have been driving our economic growth, that have a lot of internal disruption, and that internal disruption may include, global redistribution of productive capacity and wealth. So I think we're thinking very hard about that. I think that what's important, and I really want to hear from Victor on what the actual skills profiles are, because I think one of the things we should be thinking about is not just the skills of individuals. Does this person as an employee, as a productive member of society have the skills, but the capabilities of teams and organizations. Because oftentimes you'll have situations where the individual skills are okay. If LLMs, if anything, they remove certain skills requirements. They make it easier for less skilled people to do very, productive things. And the question is, can the organizations that we have, private and public sector, actually take advantage of that? Because what you could do, and what the world's most dynamic and agile organizations are doing, is light years ahead of what your average organization, public or private sector, is doing. And the difference there is organizational change capacity and the ability of teams to actually deploy these technologies, the regulatory barriers. So I think we need a different vocabulary to talk about skills than we've had for digital skills for the last 5 or 10 years, where we go out and we measure, how many people do you have with basic digital skills? How many people do you have who are IT graduates, testing them on certain skills? I don't think that gives us a full picture of who's ready for AI and who's not. Where actually you may have places that are fairly low skilled, but because their organizational change capacity is high, they can move quickly. And conversely, I think we'll have organizations and countries with very high technical skills that basically are so stuck in their way of doing work that they don't leverage the skills they have very well.
Victor, could you take this question?
Yeah, interesting idea, coming back to your story about this radio. I think the major change which is happening now is like 100 years ago, it was important to possess some knowledge. So people who possess knowledge, they are in the top. Now, there was a transition period. Now we, instead of possessing this knowledge, we know where to find the information. Yeah, so we are now in this stage. But the next stage will be, and it's coming, is how to ask the right question. So this is what we should teach our children, how to ask the right question to get the information you need. You don't need to know anymore where the information is stored, unless it's proprietary for some enterprise. If this is a public knowledge, you learn how to ask the right questions. And this will also be applicable when you work somewhere. Again, the same. I have a good example. The company who builds aircrafts and do the aircraft maintenance. Imagine they have thousands and thousands and thousands of manuals. All are digital, yeah? So you can search for the information, but it's not efficient. Now, when you know how to ask the right question, large language model will go through all these manuals, thousands of pages, and give you answer, and it will give you explanation. Yeah? So this is a good example. We are not eliminating jobs, but we're making people more efficient. That's one thing. The other thing, which again, there is a huge car company, and they came up with the idea, okay, we are very good in producing cars, why don't we do insurance? Which kind of is logical. But they didn't have this experience, so they created an insurance company, and their customer service is absolutely not able to handle it. Because they didn't expect, it was a right insurance product, but every product comes with a maintenance. You have to have customer service, so people were waiting for days to get answers. All the emails were ignored. Yeah? So, and logically, this is where large language model could help. Yeah? Okay, you have less people with a, let's say, average skill set, but if they know how to ask the right question, they can immediately get answer and provide this answer to the client. Or maybe some basic questions can be answered automatically by a large language model. And one more thing which is important for you, there is no one AI. It's just a set of different size, different speciality large language models, which basically is an algorithm. Yeah, so there is no existential threat. Yeah, it's just a question, how do you deploy it? And the key thing is, we call it AI, yeah, responsible AI. So two things here, it should not be biased. And this is, it's really difficult because, you know, machine is not biased itself, but the answer might be biased because of the information it's trained on. So you have to make sure that the information you train the model on is not biased. Otherwise, you will get biased answers. Well, that's my basic take. We should learn how to ask right questions, and it will make our life easier, and it will make our jobs more efficient. That's my thinking.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you wanted to add something?
I just wanted to the idea of asking the right question, I think, is really important. And one of the activities within UK TIN is putting an AI, a large language model front end, to a set of research capability databases, you know, specifically to allow people to find out what's going on in the UK. And the data to find that is in a set of databases that have completely different access languages and structures to the data. And okay, in some ways it's a sort of unstructured data problem, but actually the point about the LLM is it does allow you to ask a question in your own language, and then the model being trained in all of these different databases and their access methodologies actually allows you to gather a synthesis of all of that data in a way that is easy to digest. And it's kind of it's a real shift in the way in the way search engines operate. You know, I mean, it's always hard to, even with Google, it's hard to figure out what's the question I need to ask to get the answer I want. Even now, that's an issue. And I think large language models are definitely going to help with that. I wanted to just pick up on this question about training your large language model with unbiased data, though. Isn't that a really, I mean, most large language models are trained on like the whole of the internet, right? So how are you going to deal with that?
Well, if we talk about enterprise, it will train a model on the enterprise data. So there is no risk here. If we talk about public, we still call it experiment.
Okay.
So we are trying to get it better, and we also can help it. We can help the large language model become better. It's not perfect, obviously, but this is how we should play with it. We should learn how it works. We should understand. It's the same like if you type, 5 years ago you would type wrong search terms, you would get the wrong answer. That's normal. Yeah? So if we learn how to ask the right answer, and we can check where the information is coming from, then we are in a good position. We are trying to make it. I'll give you an example. YouTube. We invest a lot to make sure that information on YouTube is factual. Obviously, it's not possible to do 100%, but we invest a lot on this. So the same happens here.
Okay, but Google is working on generative AI for some time already. So what it is capable of doing at the moment?
Well, basic things. For example, if you create your presentation, you can generate some images. You can easily generate some context. For example, your marketing department could say, okay, I have this set of people, and they are likely to buy some products, so we can offer them products which they are really interested in, and describe it in an automated way. Summarization is a big thing. Yeah? So, for example, you don't need to read large article. You can ask to summarize it, and large language model will do a summary. But you will know that this summary is correct because it's based on a particular data set. So again, coming back to what I said previously, it really depends on the data set which you have. So that's what we can do.
But can we talk about really the skill replacement?
I wouldn't say replacement. I don't see replacement as we talk. Yeah, we can improve something, but it's not about replacement.
Lucas, you wanted to add
something? 2 points I want to maybe touch on what Victor's been talking about. First of all, he talked about access to data sets. Now this becomes an interesting issue where there are significant returns to scale. You have a bigger healthcare system. You have more granular data. You can train a better healthcare AI. You have a larger customer base. You have more customer interactions. You can train a better AI on your data. You have more airplane repair manuals. You can actually get, more granular repair information. So, and I'm curious your engineers' take on this. There are different takes on this, right? One take, and the question becomes, what are the choke points in terms of who can actually deploy a good AI? And one choke point is access to data, potentially. One potential choke point is access to compute. So, who has the biggest computers, the most GPUs? And the third potential choke point is quality of the algorithms and the engineering. And that maybe leads me to the point, I was going to ask you about digital skills, which is we've kind of been going around talking about broader population skills. But I'm just curious, in a Google context, what are the skills that you're paying people $20 million or $50 million a year for that are absolutely essential to actually be building these systems that sort of make the distinction, make the make or break distinction? Because I think one of the things that we've heard a lot around generative AI is that it creates this bifurcation in skills where sort of on the lower level, or not for any given type of skill, on the lower end there's sort of an evening out, and the lowest skilled people get raised up, but then at the very extreme end of quality, with the sort of the highest skills for any given domain, there's a very high premium for the person or the people who actually can correct the AI and make sure the AI system is working the way it should be. So how does that change how we think about skills distributions in any given domain? And maybe taking the specific example of the software engineering that's actually building the AIs.
Well, it's, as it was mentioned before, the models itself were there for a long time. So there is no substantial change right now. Talking about the access, we all have access to cloud. We use it one way or another. For example, if you use iPhone, you use iCloud, or you use Google Cloud if you use Gmail. So access to the resources is there. So if you are willing to access resources which you need for the time you need, it's there. So there is no problem with that. It's not like it's limited. Talking about the knowledge, every organization can have their own knowledge base and train their models on their particular knowledge. It will not be public, and it will not be accessible for Google. So if you work for a large organization, this is your domain, and nobody has access to it. So you train your model, and it's yours. All the data is yours. Talking about overall situation, I don't think we are in any better position than any other organization. We probably have more experience, but there are hundreds of startups using AI technology now. And I'm really saying hundreds. Not all of them will be successful, but that they have access to technology. And they can try, they can experiment, they can try to create new products using AI, and probably some of them will be successful. There is no limitation here. That's what's important to understand.
Yeah, got this.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some information. I read the Harvard Business School made some research on how people who are using ChatGPT or generative AI outperform the people who are not using. And there were some examples that users outperform non-users by 25% on speed and 40% on quality. That's on when you have like a kind of entry-level kind of tasks of which AI is capable of. But then they do also the vice versa. Then if they give tasks which are outside the capability or capabilities of AI, then the quality dropped from 84 to I don't know 60 to 70%. So this means that AI have a good position for like an entry level and for assistance. But then when you got in a higher like more sophisticated knowledge or skills, then it doesn't perform so well. So there, I think one of the questions I might also put for Google or also you can is those entry-level roles, how we like get along with this, because okay, AI can help for underperformers, but when you have like young people going into the industry, like you start with entry-level. Now the entry-level will be sophisticated with a kind of AI tools, and now you have to like have a higher or different kind of qualities to get like entry-level position. So I think this will make some change in the way how industry works. And from my experience, I also had tried to use in different ways, and maybe it's a good news for me that I'm not always very satisfied with the result of AI which is produced for me. So it means that okay, I'm still above the level of AI, and
or you don't know how to ask the right question.
Yeah, or I'm underperforming on question setting. Yes, for example, I don't know. I will very often I try to generate sometimes speeches with AI, and they sound very blunt. They are very like plain, and or they have very like the kind of X-rated language that all is super and excited, and you know that people don't speak like that. And the one issue, I couldn't get AI to put the facts into those speeches, even if I given the facts. This is one. And the other, I was very amazed by data analytics using AI. I'm not like programming in R or some other languages, but I was able to analyze the Latvian Open Data Portal kind of open data sets, merge them only by using those prompts in ChatGPT and using this data analytics plugin. But what I was always afraid of, is he hallucinating or not hallucinating with the nice data sets there or the charts he is giving me? Because charts are very kind of, yeah, when you look on the chart, they are very kind of it's like convincing,
Yeah,
yes. And then you have to be still very, very, very cautious about what you are looking at, and is this the real? So you have to have some capability to analyze critically the information or the charts that are provided to you.
Just a thought on the speeches. Right now, you're working with ChatGPT or Bard's general data. Wait till you're running it on your internal systems. It can see all your emails, it can see all your internal documents, it can see all the historical speeches that you've written. And then you say, write a good speech for the minister about this policy initiative, commenting on some of the implementation difficulties.
Yeah. Probably
So
he
it
will
might
write
2 years'
something,
time.
but still, if you want a soul in this, you still have to put something from you.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we will have time for questions from audience, because I have one more question to Nick, because he's very close to the industry, and I wanted to ask, if we talk about companies, there are like with thousands of employees, millions of customers, how willing they are really to rely on AI?
Well, not yet, I think, is the answer. In terms of network management, network operations, there are isolated cases where AI is being tried out on particular cell sites or particular problem escalations and so on, and it has worked successfully, but no one yet has braced themselves to let AI manage the whole network for them. And I think that's still my understanding is, my information from our ecosystem is that's still some way away. I mean, telecoms is an intrinsically conservative industry, so you wouldn't expect them to be at the leading edge of this kind of work, but it's still some way away. But there are isolated cases where AI is making a difference, and actually making it internally. Obviously, in terms of network operational cost, power consumption is a major issue. So making decisions about how to reconfigure networks according to traffic. There have been some success stories there to say, well, okay, in low traffic times I can turn this cell off and this cell off, and reconfigure the other cells to fill in the gaps for to give a low capacity network in the quiet hour, and then turn them all back on again in the busy hour. And when do I do that? And how do I scale up the capacity to optimize the power consumption? Those sort of questions are live and being trialed now.
But what should happen that they could change their attitude?
Well, I think experience. I think, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think people just need confidence. I mean, again, in a conservative industry like telecoms, you've got, as you say, hundreds of millions of subscribers in many cases, and you can't make a decision that affects a significant number of them without testing it to the extremes. And I mean, which raises another aspect of AI, which is the one that was mentioned earlier about actually building a digital twin for your network and actually testing out it's a little bit like the snake eating its tail, but having AI test AI, that brings its own sort of conceptual danger, doesn't it? I mean, there's some testing to be done there, but that's the sort of thing that's going on. You build a digital twin of your network, and then let an independent model, obviously important, operate it and see what happens. And that sort of thing is going on now. But running a live network is some way to go yet, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I think we are ready for at least one question from the audience.
Yes, I have just a very short comment on the poll results. There is 1/3 in our viewers, not only in the room, but also on the platform, which are universal basic income fans. Yeah, every third would love to have something if AI is doing the job, but mostly they were waiting the answer from you.
Okay.
So, do you have an answer?
Do you have any comments?
Because the question was, do you believe that implementing AI-driven workforce training and upskilling programs should be accompanied by universal basic income to support individuals during the transition? So the lazy ones.
Maybe, I don't know if the case of the lazy ones, but I think the change from the other industrial revolutions, or how we call it, is that the pace of how this revolution is going on, and that within one generation we have like a kind of substantial transformation, and not all people are adjusted to this new reality, that we have to like have this lifelong learning. I think the new generation will have like this naturally, that they are born, that they are like all the time that upskilling and reskilling. So probably for some transformation period, some people would need to have this opportunity to have some support of in case their work are suffering this technological kind of transformation.
So the middle generation and older ones.
Not all,
course,
but in some cases, I think we should take into account.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
It seems an extreme way of solving the problem. If you're looking to retrain people and upskill them, then subsidize the training, right? It seems a blunt instrument to apply. This is a non-politician's answer, right?
You know why it's blunt? This question was created by AI.
I fell into that one, didn't I? Yes.
Yeah. And we did. So, anything else to add by the moderator?
We were discussing this before, that we have to involve AI in some form, and it's and it seems we did it.
And here's the results.
Perfect. Yeah.
Very
Thank you.
blunt and bold.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the moderator.
Thank you.